want to show you something new I've been working on for about a month and a half. This, for any Stargate fan, is going to recognize this. The dial home device, seen in Stargate and in so many episodes of Stargate 1. Accomplished through a lot of hard work, laser cutting MDF and acrylic, and lots of Bondo and wood and every kind of wood power tool there is, and it resulted in this big, fairly lightweight casting that could be used as a wall medallion or a ceiling light. This casting has been pre-trimmed. When you order a kit, you might have a little bit more flashing here on the edge, on the upper rim, and on the lower edge to clean up. As you can see, we've done a little bit of cleanup here already. But these castings come out very nice. And the one everybody, when they see this, the one everybody wants to find is the Earth glyph, which is over here. So there's your Earth glyph. I've engineered a way to use this 11-inch dome that you can buy at Home Depot. I've engineered this opening so that it fits this dome perfectly. So you can go to Home Depot, buy that dome, and fit it into the interior of this and have this as a functional prop replica. I'm going to review some of the materials and products that I use when I am going to finish up the Stargate. You don't have to use these same brands. This is just what I use. Rust-Oleum Gray Primer. I've got a Rust-Oleum Copper Metallic Finish. A Rust-Oleum Gold spray paint. I've got acrylic in black, white, blue, and sort of this light green color and a darker blue. A cheap chip brush. To paint the dome, I'll be using translucent Tamiya red, translucent Tamiya orange. I'm going to do a little bit of a mottled lighter color as the base, and then we're going to go over with blues and greens and coppers and silvers over the button areas. So what I'm going to do to start this project off is coat everything in primer gray. So after that primer coat is dry, I'm going to start breaking up this color with some contrast, with some lighter than the gray and some darker than the gray. And we're going to go darker with the gray using Rust-Oleum Charcoal. And you want to feather this on. So you want to stay pretty far back, and I showed this in a different tutorial. I want to stay back a few feet. So I'm going to be way back over here. I'm at least a couple feet away, and I'm just going to start feathering some darkness here and there. You don't want to coat this entire thing. You just want to start feathering in a little bit of breakup. We're going to continue our color breakup by mixing some acrylic, and we're going to go with white and black. And we're going to mix a medium tone. Remember that acrylic paint is going to dry darker than you apply it. Don't be afraid to experiment. Now I'm going to get most of this paint off my brush just by rubbing it away. Start breaking this up. So just dab it on. And do it randomly. We're going to go inside these cracks. And I'm not worried a whole lot about painting inside of the petal areas. That is going to be a whole lot of different other colors we're going to go with. And I'll be showing you that in a little bit. But right now all we're looking for is color breakup in between the petals and on the perimeter rings. And it's an Egyptian aesthetic. I mean, it's you want to break these colors up. I do this with the Independence Day Attacker, and if I'm able to, I'll provide a link. But that surface, the base coat, is never just one color, it's many different colors. And this looks like a lot of different breakup here. It looks pretty dramatic, but this will lessen as the paint dries. The light tones will start getting darker. So don't worry about going overboard. And if you do, you can always come back in, darken up, and go again. And I'm really taking care to push this tonage into the spaces between the petals, into these cracks. You want to make sure that you're getting into there also. You don't want it to look too vanilla. And it's really easy to forget about these outer edges too. So kind of change the angle of your brush and just get in there. Now when you're done doing this lighter tone, we're going to give it one more layer of breakup by mixing a little bit of a darker gray. So I'm going to use a little bit more black. Bring that into my bristles. Pretty strong black. And I'm going to take some of this off the brush, and then I'm going to go in randomly speckling very dark gray. So now we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of color breakup. And that should be enough to proceed to the next step. I am going to clear coat this entire dial. This is a very important step. If you mess up or if you start going too crazy with the next colors, you can always reverse your project back to this spot if you seal it first. So I'm using, again, Rust-Oleum Matte Clear. It's time now to bring on the color. I have a palette of a light blue. This is all acrylic paint. I have a light blue, I have a metallic blue, and a light green color. This one is called Citrus, number 4. I've got some water, and I've been running some different tests, some different color palettes on these panels, because we're going for a blue, more of a bluish than a greenish with some copper and gold highlights. So what I'm going to do is apply one color at a time to all these panels. I'm going to start with a bluish greenish color. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so I've got green and blue. I've got a wet brush, and I'm going to come into the blue, grab a little bit of this green, rub off some of this paint, and I'm going to start applying color, a little bit heavy to start, to get most of this color off. Now we're just going to come in here and we're going to start applying that blue-green color to all these panels. Maybe a little more green. And you know, I'm going to mix in a little bit of this hunter's green. Just give it a kiss of this hunter green with a little bit of this blue green. See what that looks like. Yeah, I like that. Now when I'm dry brushing this color on, you're going to get a little bit of paint onto the actual glyphs. And it's alright because they're that way on the film used original, but I'm going to wipe most of that paint away because I want to keep these a little bit dark, a little bit more pronounced than all the color around it. So I'm going to keep these dark. So if I'm coming in here and I'm getting a whole lot of paint on the glyph, I'm just going to use my gloved hand and wipe that paint away and just keep it smoky. Very green right now, so I'm going to go in to my palette and pick up a little bit more of this blue and maybe a touch more of this blue and get a nice blue tone and wipe a lot of it off. I'm going to come back over here where I feel like it's a little bit, like this one's more, it's too green, so I'm going to come back in with some blue and brighten it up. Give it that interest, give it that sparkle. I'm pretty satisfied with this base color, so now I'm hitting this with clear matte again. Every time you go layers and you're done doing a layer, go ahead and seal it in place. Ensure that you can't mess it up any further, because we're going in with copper and gold next. And in case we put it on too heavy, we want to be able to wipe it off. So that's why I'm doing another coat of clear sealer. Here we go with applying the copper and gold colors. This is one of the final steps of painting the actual DHD. I'm using copper by Rust-Oleum. It's number 314417, bright copper, and Rust-Oleum metallic gold. This one is part number 1910830. And I was going to show a very elaborate way of thinning down enamel paints with paint thinner and doing wash coats, and it was getting to be complicated, and I found that this technique I'm about to show you is far superior. So it's simpler and better. We're going to start this out by taking a chip brush and giving ourselves a wedge. Let's do this so you can see it. So I'm trimming this chip brush. Don't want the bristles to be so long, and I want them to come to a point. So I'm going to create a wedge just by trimming up that way and trimming that way. So we have like a mild wedge. And I'm also going to trim some of these fibers off this way so it's not as fat on this end. So we've got this shape. We're going to start off with copper. Shake this can really well. And you want to use a piece of plastic. You don't want to use cardboard or a paper product to apply this paint, because you don't want it to absorb. You want it to stay on the surface wet for as long as possible. Okay, so here we have copper. And when we do gold, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take this gold and apply it into a puddle and then be dipping into that. So I'm dipping into the copper, and I'm going to stipple this on, and I want there to be some groupings of the color. You want to keep marbling in mind when you do this. So I'm going to create a vein like that, come back into this, and I'm going to stipple here and there. Don't go overboard. I'm just going to introduce some of this copper color. I'm going to create a vein. Maybe I'll have a vein that starts here and kind of comes down kind of diagonally. Okay, so you can see that. Now let's go into the gold. Take some of this gold, and this I'm mostly going to just stipple. Light is going to really kick off this gold, and I might make a couple of areas that are a little bit more prominent. I don't want to forget these corners, so I'm going to come in and tap these corners a little bit. And I think I'm going to leave that alone. Now, if you feel like you went too heavy with the gold, or you went too heavy with the copper, or you kind of want to start over with this, you can rub this paint off with a little bit of iso alcohol or a little thinner. Or you can grab your original palette, which my paint is still wet, and you can dip back into this and go over this again. let's say, I'll just do this as an example. I'm going to come back in here with a little bit of the green and the blue. And let's say I don't like this spot here, so I can cover it back over, wipe it down, mute it down, and I could mute down that area. Then when it's muted, I can come back with gold instead of copper, or you can just switch back and forth. This might take you a while to do this, but just kind of like fool around with it until you like the effect. Okay, so you can see now, I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but the gold and copper shimmer as the light changes. And it's very uneven, exactly the way I planned it. And there is one technique, anyways, of achieving the paint effects for the Stargate dial. Let's paint up the light up center dome. So this is the dome that comes directly out of that package from Home Depot, the 11-inch dome light. We're going to paint this with Tamiya Translucent Red, TS95, and Tamiya Translucent Orange, PS43. So red is a lot stronger than orange, so trust me on this. You're going to want to spray this orange first. And I'm making this a little bit uneven. When this is lit up, it's got an uneven appearance. So I'm not going to coat the entire thing. I'm just kind of going to go here and there. And I'll go a little bit heavier in a couple of these spots randomly. Get these edges. Okay, there's our base coat of orange. Let's go with red. Red's a lot stronger. You're not going to be able to make anything that's dark red light again, so do it right the first time. But it's pretty hard to get it wrong. So we're just going to kind of go unevenly. Get those edges. And we're just going for a marbled texture. Maybe a little bit darker over here. And that's it. There's your marbled dome. So here's the kit that dome came out of. The 11-inch LED Easy Light by Commercial Electric. Bought this at Home Depot. And here is the product code, if anybody wants to copy that from the video. And there is an adapter for this LED array, so you can plug this directly into a 110 cord and power it off an outlet. Right now I've got this just plugged into a simple light fixture, so this thing is super bright. Now here's what this dome looks like without diffusion, and I found that if you add a sheet of diffusion inside the dome, this is just simple diffusion you can buy at most plastic stores. Let's go ahead and cut a circle, stuff it in here to diffuse that light, and then now we've got, you can see kind of that marbling a little bit better this way. We are going to use 3M Super 77 spray adhesive to secure the dome inside the DHD ring from the inside. I don't want to put adhesive directly on this dome. I want to put the adhesive to the inside of the opening. And we're going to give this a few minutes to dry, but I'm going to give this a really good, strong coat. Make sure you're getting all the different angles. And you can see that I have the dome suspended. Right now it's between my bench and a chair with the rag on that side protecting the finish. Because you want to be able to push this dome into place and kind of look on the other side to see if you've got a really tight fit. The Spray 77 is holding it in place, but I don't know for how long. So I'm going to use some super glue and spray kicker to do a final adhesion around the perimeter where that dome meets the casting. So a little bead of super glue, spray kick it. There she is, your finished Stargate dial home device. This is without lights on, and here it is with the lights on. This could serve as a wall light or a ceiling light, or if you decide not to go with any kind of lighting feature, it's a magnificent wall plaque.